edition of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are LA.
It's time for Angels Spring Training Baseball this afternoon from Tempe Diablo Stadium. It's the Angels in action against the world champion San Francisco Giants. The first of two, in fact, for the Angels and the Giants. And we welcome you into Tempe Diablo Stadium. A beautiful day for baseball here on this Saturday. Terry Smith, along with Angels pitching coach Mike Witcher. Mike, very nice to have you join us here before the Angels and the Giants. And let's get right into things as far as the Angels pitching staff is concerned. I know you had a bullpen session earlier today with Garrett Richards. I know he pitched in the intra-squad game earlier this week. Tell us how he's coming along.
I know, Terry, he's progressed quite a bit. He's going through all of his PFPs. He's doing his picks. He's mixed in with the regular guys now that are ready to go. So he's folded in nicely. He threw 3 innings in the inter-squad game the other day. Threw 46 pitches, threw the ball extremely well. Looked great today in his bullpen. He's bouncing back nice. He's had no issues. It's getting better every time out there.
So let's talk about Corey Rasmus. News breaking today. Can you tell us about the extent of the injury and now the preceding surgery coming up?
Well, he's going to have a hernia repair, and we'll just kind of go from there. But you know, you're looking at about 6 weeks of him just kind of going through the process of healing, and then probably about 8 to 10 weeks before he's kind of ready to go.
Let's talk about internal candidates that could be stretched out of your bullpen now that, of course, here in spring training, you can see all the options.
Well, I tell you, the guy that's really stepped up to the plate really is Ruzinski. He threw a great outing the other day, plugging his fastball both sides of the plate. He threw a really good slider, had a nice split finger, threw some good changeups too. But he's thrown the ball well all spring. Jose Alvarez threw the ball really well yesterday or the day before. There's some guys that are stepping up. We got Matt Lindstrom. We got Matthews. There's guys that are more than capable of going up there and stepping up for us.
Mike, if you would, talk about the rotation so far, what you've seen from the starters. Obviously, Shoemaker's had a little trouble. I know you just got done working out with him. CJ's made only one start. He'll pitch tomorrow against the Giants. Talk about how the starters have looked to you so far this spring.
I think they go through their natural progression during spring training. So, you know, you're not going to see a whole lot of velocity all right at the very beginning of spring training. They got to work into that, but they're getting their innings in. They're getting stretched out. Weaver's got he's scheduled for 6 innings today. CJ looks good. He threw in an inter-squad game the other day, too. He threw the ball really well, threw 3 innings in that one, which isn't going to show up on paper as a statistic. But our guys, I think, are right where they need to be, and we're moving in the right direction. They're getting progression. Towards the end of spring training, we want to build them up to 100 pitches, get at least 7 ups, and kind of go from there. But right now, I like what I'm seeing.
Are you worried at all about C.J. Wilson, that he might be a little bit behind, or are you okay with where he's at right now?
I'm okay with where he's at right now. We kind of scheduled it where we had that extra day folded in where he can get his work if something like that flared up. And so he'll be okay by the time spring training's over with. He'll be up 6 or 7 times, and he'll be ready for the season.
Mark, let's talk about the balance between, as you talk about natural progression and implementing pitches. And here in spring training, you have the luxury of saying, this particular inning, I need you to work on something. How do you balance that between that and competing, obviously?
Well, I think as you're out there, the competitive nature just comes out of you. But there's guys that are going to work on certain pitches in certain situations, you know, where, you know, we might be facing the same hitters over and over again, you know, throughout the season. So they might pitch them a little bit differently during spring training. But overall, it's really the biggest thing we're looking for is fastball command, getting ahead in counts, controlling the 1-1 count, and trying to get 2-2 action, where we're trying to get contact on our terms in a 2-2 count with whatever pitches that they're throwing. But if they're trying to work on a specific pitch that day, they're going to throw more than their share normally in that game. It might be more changeups that game. It might be trying to land a curveball, an elevated fastball, just things of that nature.
Mike, before we let you go, and I know you have some other duties to attend to, give us a name that's kind of his stock has risen here in a few weeks in camp as far as you're concerned, pitching-wise.
Well, we just sent down Alex Sanabia, and he made a nice showing this year. He threw the ball well. He put himself back on the map, you know. I mean, we just got him for the Marlins. But Ruzinski, Andrew Ruzinski, I mean, he's done a nice job. He's done actually a fabulous job. And he's kind of risen up a little bit on that depth chart.
All right, Mike Butcher, glad enough to join us. The Angels and the Giants, the first of back-to-backers between these two this spring. The action's coming up next on Prime Ticket.
Welcome back to Tempe Diablo Stadium. Another beautiful afternoon here in the Valley of the Sun, and it's the world champion San Francisco Giants against the Angels. Two veteran managers go at it. Bruce Bochy managing his 20th consecutive season in the big leagues against his good old buddy and former catcher counterpart, Mike Socha. Jose Mota and Terry Smith with you as Jared Weaver gets ready. We also have the lineups, and for Bruce Bochy and his Giants, Norichika Aoki signed as a free agent as a designated hitter. Nori Aoki, a Japanese product. Brandon Crawford is a shortstop batting second. Casey McGee comes from the Marlins at third base batting third. Travis Ishikawa at first base batting fourth. Justin Maxwell is in right field batting fifth. Juan Perez in left field batting sixth. Hector Sanchez, catcher, batting seventh. Joaquin Ayres at second base will bat eighth. Gary Brown will bat ninth and play in center field for San Francisco. Well, the Angels starting lineup brought to you by McDonald's. It is a perfect meeting of beef and cheese. McDonald's new triple cheeseburger loaded with 3 100% pure beef patties and real American cheese. It's everything you love and more of it. Now available for just $2.49. Calgill, Featherston, Navarro, Krause, Green, Perez, DH, Butera, Kubica, and Daniel Robertson lines up for Mike Socha.
All right, Jose, we're just about ready for baseball here on this Saturday. Jared Weaver gets the sign. Here's the game's first pitch, and it's a liner right up the middle, right by Weaver and through into center field. So Aoki, who has had a tough spring, he was just 4 for 34. Wastes little time there. First ball swinging with a leadoff single. 79 degrees today here in Tempe. Bright sunshine and a full house. This game is a sellout. It was sold out weeks ago, and they are packed in here about as tightly as possible here today. So Brandon Crawford, Giant shortstop, will bat. He's had kind of a tough spring so far. Left-handed batter, toss over to first base. Aoki, who stole 17 with the Royals last year, dives back. Of course, his club lost to the Giants last season. Aoki going from the AL champs to the World Series champs in the offseason.
He was scouted well.
Yeah. There's the pitch. That one is high. And the count, 1 ball, no strikes.
Aoki, former megastar over in Japan. Rookie of the year in the Central League. A couple times he had over 200 hits. Pretty smart base runner, and of course a good defender in the outfield. Ask the Angels about it. A couple plays that hurt the Angels in the division series in October.
Weaver ready. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Next delivery, it's high again, very high. In fact, as the catcher Butera to stand up to catch that pitch. 2-0 the count.
Jared Weaver scheduled to go 6 innings today, at least 6 times up to the mound. And of course, if the pitching counts allow him to do so. He was absolutely getting stretched out. Coming off a very good outing.
And a toss over to first, and Aoki gets back. Crawford, the batter, went to UCLA. He has to feel good. The Bruins have advanced into the Sweet 16 in the NCAA basketball tournament.
That's outstanding. Congratulations. Well done, Alfred and company.
Next pitch, cut and a miss. 2-1 the count.
There's that changeup. It's been dandy. Leads the last 60-65 pitches Weaver has thrown here in camp. He has been on the spot with a feel of the pitches. His fastball better finish, and of course his curveball coming in.
And the next delivery is bounced on the first base side off the glove of Navarro. The ball caroms over to Green, and he flips it back to Navarro. So the Angels get the out there. Kind of an odd 3-4-3 ground out. Aoki moves up to second base.
That's what happens when you have a plus defender. He knocks that ball down when the ball left the bat. And it looks like an automatic base hit through that hole. And perhaps first or third on the way that Aoki can run the bases. And Navarro showing that glove. Also the quickness in getting up and finding and fielding his bag.
So here is Casey McGee. One of the few additions that the Giants made this past offseason. He and Aoki really the 2 main additions, and there's a pitch in there for a called strike. McGee was with Miami last year after spending the 2013 season playing in Japan.
And this is one situation where he was very dangerous with their scoring position last year.
Takes that one high.
He attributes that to the approach he learned in Japan. He said they told him, if you look to the right side of the mound where you're standing, that is your key to stay on pitches and also your key to drive the ball that way.
McGee replacing Pablo Sandoval for San Francisco this season. They signed him to a one-year deal as he fouls that one back to the screen. So it's 1-2. Jared Weaver making his 4th spring start. Couple wins, no losses. ERA has been good this spring, and 10 2/3 innings, and ERA at 2.53. Just underway, top of the first inning, no score. Runner at second, 1 out. And the next one on McGee. That breaking ball freezes him and struck him out. McGee is out looking, could not pull the trigger on it. Weaver gets his first strikeout of the day.
Anytime those hands are coming forward, you might be on the pitch, you track it well, but if those hands are coming forward, it's very hard to let him go. That is painting.
Butera, good job framing that pitch, and now the batter is Travis Ishikawa. He was with the Pirates and the Giants last year. Another left-handed batter, 3 of the first 4 batting left-handed, and the first pitch, that one is taken for ball 1. It's 1 ball, no strikes.
Good story of perseverance. Ishikawa thought he was on his way out of the game, and before you know it, he's playing significant games for the Giants later in the year and of course into the World Series.
Next pitch taken for a ball. Ishikawa had a big National League Championship Series for the Giants. That was against the Cardinals. He hit .385 in the NLCS. Here's the next delivery. That one is low. Good block by Butera, setting up the Angels defensively. Around the infield, Navarro at first, Green at second, Kubica at third with Featherston at short. And in the outfield, Krause plays left. Robertson in center, Cowgill in right. Butera is catching, Carlos Perez DHing, and Jared Weaver on the mound. The Angels have given all the regular everyday players the day off. They worked out earlier this morning. Here's the 3-0, and he had the green light, pops it up. This should be an easy play here to end the inning. Left side of the infield, a couple feet back on the outfield grass. Featherston, the shortstop, puts it away, and that's it for San Francisco. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and they leave a runner on base. We've completed a half inning from Tempe. There's no score on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. to the bottom of the first. No score here at Tempe Diablo Stadium. It's time to go around the grill with Albertsons. When grilling veggies, lightly coat them in olive oil before grilling to prevent sticking and drying out. Best choices for the grill are asparagus, bell peppers, squash, and onions. Around the grill, it's brought to you by Albertsons. You're in for something fresh.
Sounds like it. On a day like today, even more.
It's always good to eat your veggies, Jose.
Especially grilled.
There's a pitch on the outside corner from Lincecum on Colin Calgill, who leads it off.
A lot of Giants fans here as they follow them throughout the country.
This is Lincecum's first spring start. He worked 3 times in relief. Kind of back to his old look again. Lincecum with the hair longer. And the pitch on its way. This one is ripped past the third baseman McGee. Down the left side it rolls. And headed for second base is Calgill. The ball was fumbled by Perez as he was getting ready to throw it back towards second base. So turns out to be an easy leadoff double.
Got to set off speed on that one. Yes. Lincecum still scuffling with his command issues, release point, locations. And for a guy like that, doesn't blow it by you anymore as he used to. Still has a plus off speed with all that body he throws at you. And a good job of hitting there. And looking for that pitch by Calgill.
So the Angels' first hit of the game brought to you by 714 Tickets. If you want to make a hit on tickets, log on to 714tickets.com. 714 Tickets. Call today. Go tonight. Batter is Featherston, and he takes the first pitch for a strike.
Colin Calgill continues to vie for more playing time. Righties or lefties. Came into this game hitting .406 with a .441 on base, and there he goes again. You can see the right side of the infield looking for one thing. Ball to be hit that way.
Featherston was around the bunt, and they were thinking bunt here, and then time was called. You mentioned Calgill and trying to get the extra playing time. He's had twice as many spring at-bats as the guy he's kind of fighting for that left field spot with, Matt Joyce.
Yeah, Matt Joyce is not at 100%. That's why we have not seen him on a consistent basis.
There's the pitch, and that is a pitch that's taken for a ball.
Joyce, acquired from the Tampa Bay Rays, has been limited due to a couple things. A side issue around his oblique and also a hamstring. Got to play recently in a B game on Wednesday or Thursday, I believe.
Here's the, well, Lincecum steps out the rubber, bluffs the runner back to second. Featherston has been tipping off the bunt. There's been no big surprise here, and both the corner infielders, Ishikawa and McGee, at first and third in.
Right here, I'm going to let him hit.
He's around to bunt, and he drops it down third base side. That'll easily get the runner over to third. Sacrifice in order. And moving over to third base will be Calgill. Well, that's a situation right there where Mike Scioscia is looking for execution, and he got it from Featherston.
Well, here's one thing. He wants execution, and you're right. He wants to see what this kid brings. We saw Featherston before fail on an attempted safety squeeze a few games back, and Mike Scioscia put that play on again, and he was successful at it. Now, during the regular season, Mike Scioscia rarely ever will bunt a guy into third base in the first inning.
Spring training a little different, obviously, and the pitch, and that one is pitch it's taken there by Navarro.
Terry, and to be honest with you, I wish he'd do it more in the regular season against certain type of pitchers.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those windows don't come again.
Infield has been brought in. Here's the next one on Navarro. He takes that one high and outside. The umpires today, Jordan Baker is behind the plate. And along the bases, we have Jim Joyce, Kerwin Danley, and Jim Reynolds.
Infielders now about halfway. They are in the dirt.
Next delivery, that's low and away ball 3. It's 3-0. Lincecum in his first 3 outings all in relief. A total of 4 innings, 6 hits and 6 earned runs allowed with 7 strikeouts. Lincecum last year went 12-9 with the Giants. ERA was 4.74. He lost his spot in their rotation last year. And there's another pitch taken by Navarro, and that's a 4-pitch walk.
You can see Navarro had a green light. And the good thing is he did not go out there and start chasing just because he had a green light. That fastball really ran on Lincecum.
When Lincecum first broke into the majors, and he was a first-round pick in 2006, he's a guy that was throwing close to 100 miles per hour. He doesn't throw that fast anymore.
He had the speed. He had the feel for pitching at a young age. Was devastating slider, wipeout changeup. Get it up there. He got up to 265 strikeouts in one season.
There's one that's way outside, and he's having trouble with his location. He's facing Mark Krause now, and the catcher Sanchez wants to go out and have a word with Lincecum, who stands 5'11", weighs about 170 pounds. He's now 30 years old. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. This is the final year of his 2-year deal with the Giants. He's had a great deal of success with them. A couple of Cy Young awards, 4-time All-Star. Of course, he's been with them during their run of World Series championships. They've won 3 in the last 5 seasons. Now 2 balls and no strikes on Mark Krause. 6 straight pitches out of the strike zone. And the 2-0, that's high. He's missed 7 straight pitches. 3-0 the count.
Mark Krause himself making a good case about pushing for a spot in this ball club. .571 on base percentage. Hitting .467.
3-0, he had the green light and skies it in the air into left field. Looks like it's deep enough to get in Cowgill. He will tag. Here comes the throw to the plate. It's offline. Breaking and tagging and getting up to second as well. Good hustle by Navarro. So the Angels on the board here in the bottom of the first, up 1-0.
It's a play that I'm sure Bruce Bochy and Juan Carlos Perez himself will like to see again. Perez makes a mistake on this fly ball. Got to throw to second base. Navarro is your slowest guy. He just allowed 2 guys to advance, including the guy at first base that really had no intent on tagging unless he saw your throw coming in. So the Angels take advantage of what is not an error, but of course a defensive mishap there by the Giants.
Grant Green is the batter now, and he takes the first one for ball 1.
And for Mark Krause, Terry, just like Taylor Featherston, 2 guys getting a long look. Good situational performers here so far.
There's the Lincecum again faking a pickoff toss. He's done that a few times here in this inning, just about ready to deliver to the plate, then kind of steps off the rubber. 1-0 pitch. Chopped by the mound out near second base. It's stopped by the shortstop Crawford. His throw would hit Grant Green, and the inning ends on the ground out to the shortstop. Angels get a first inning run, had 1 hit, 1 walk, no errors, and leave 1. We've completed 1. We head to the second. 1-0 Angels on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. This copyrighted broadcast presented by authority of Angels Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of Angels Baseball. Jared Weaver working with a 1-0 lead as we start the second. Delivers the first pitch for a strike on Justin Maxwell. And here's the next delivery. That one is low. Maxwell was with the Kansas City Royals a little bit last season. Played AAA most of last year in the Royals system. Signed with the Giants this spring. Right-handed batter, and the pitch. That one is low and outside. Juan Perez, Hector Sanchez will follow. And here's the next pitch. Popped up on the first base side. Navarro is hustling down, straddling the line. Will make the catch in foul ground about halfway between first and home plate. That's out number 1. And it brings up Juan Perez. Perez appeared in 61 games for the Giants a year ago. He also spent time in AAA last season in their organization. Here's the delivery, and that is a pitch on the outside corner. I mentioned the time with the Giants in AAA last year for Perez. He had 6 stints between the Giants and AAA Fresno last year. There's one fouled off. So,
and then what happened? When they were playing the World Series, he was a key clock for that ball club.
Yep. He's on the postseason roster. Despite the fact he hit 170 and had an on-base percentage last year with the Giants at .224.
Look what happens, Terry. Sometimes guys perform so well in the regular season, and come postseason, what? The lights are way too bright. Can't perform.
There's Perez on that 2-strike delivery, trying to hold up, went around, struck him out on 3 pitches. So Weaver has retired the last 5, and he has struck out 2 after giving up that leadoff hit to start up the ball game. On the first pitch he threw to Aoki. 2 quick outs here in the second, and this is the catcher Hector Sanchez.
Very similar finish on that pitch that we saw on the one he caught Casey McGee looking to, where the hands are committed. And this time the hands were committed by Juan Perez, but he had nothing left but to try to swing and protect.
First pitch called strike on the Giants' backup catcher. Venezuelan native. And the next pitch. That one is taken, and it's a ball. It's 1-1.
So we see where Kubica is. Yeah, last night we saw David Freese protecting the bunt, playing around this area, and actually made a nice play on a pop-up. But you see where Mike Scioscia is pretty much, along with Dino Evil, telling Kubica, don't worry about the ball, just stay out there, get some coverage, and nothing else. Against certain guys, yeah, occasionally you pick a spot where you might guard against the shift and also that push bunt.
3 infielders on the right side, and the next delivery, laying off that pitch, check swing, pitches a ball. The count goes to 3-1.
We were made 13 pitches in the first inning.
Last time we saw Jared was on Monday against Texas, and he was outstanding in that game. Retired 15 of 16 batters, and there's a pitch in there for a called strike. The only blemish he had in that start earlier this week was a home run he allowed there, Robinson Chirinos. Here's the 3-2 payoff, and it's outside, and you can hear Weaver out at the mound. He was upset with himself there. He might have rushed that pitch. He knew he had thrown it out of the strike zone to walk Sanchez. So a 2-out walk, and Joaquin Arias will be the next batter.
Of course, we were upset about the fact that his mechanics might have gotten away from him just a little bit as he rushed into that slope. One of the things that has made Weaver a premier pitcher, with a fastball right now averages just around 86 miles an hour, is that he avoids these types of openings for the opponent. The 2-out walk.
It's a breaking ball that's low.
Then you go to the other extreme. The Angels have C.J. Wilson on the mound tomorrow. And C.J. is a guy that throughout his career as a starter has had trouble with the 2-out walk. 85 walks for C.J. last year. 39 came with 2 outs.
There's a fastball a little bit high, and that one misses, so it's now 2-0 on the reserve infielder Joaquin Arias.
Terry, and it is good news that C.J. Wilson is scheduled to pitch tomorrow over at Scottsdale against the Giants against Madison Bumgarner, the one-man show in October.
He sure was. There's one that's fouled back behind the plate. If ever a guy just about single-handedly won a World Series for a team, he was the guy last year for the Giants.
Unbelievable. Also, it was refreshing to hear him say after the World Series, he goes, "Yes, I was gassed, extremely tired."
Threw 270 innings last year when you include the regular season and the postseason, did Bumgarner. The 2-1 pitch. That's fouled off on the right side. It's backing out of play.
So far, the slider, slurve, however you want to call it today. It's not as tight as a slider. It's not as big as his curveball that he throws against lefty, but breaking ball really starting in the middle of the plate and absolutely disappearing. So far, right-handed batters. And he's taking even more off of it.
2-2 pitch. That's line foul down the left side, back and out of play.
And those are the types of foul balls you will see when you take more off of your breaking ball. The smart pitching by Weave. Sometimes he's told me that he will grip the ball a little firmer and not as loose around his fingertips, so the ball doesn't come out as fast. It may not get the best rotation, but it almost acts like a changeup with some bend on it.
Here's the 2-2. That's hit hard down the left side, and that is going to bounce all the way out to the warning track. Just getting to it is Krause. Going into third base, being held there will be the lead runner, the catcher Sanchez. Arias has a 2-out hit. And they have runners at second and third. Had they had a little faster runner at first base, they might have scored a run there, but Sanchez, the catcher, just goes first to third on the Arias double.
Credit Arias. He was fooled once, looked for it again, and this time the pitch got way more of the play than Jared Weaver wanted, and he was more than ready.
Gary Brown will bat. Brown was with the Giants briefly last year. Former first-round pick. That was back in 2010. He played his college baseball at Cal State Fullerton. Went to Diamond Bar High School. There's a pitch that he takes outside. It's 1-0. Brown has very good speed. And last year in AAA, he stole 36 bases.
He's trying to get himself a name because there's some opens perhaps in the Giants outfield.
Had some injury issues, and the pitch. Brown skies one in the air to shallow left field. Krause is circling under, battling the sun out there, and he will put that one away. It's a big man out there in left field for the Angels, Mark Krause. That will end the inning. The Giants threaten but fail to score. No runs, a hit, a walk, no errors, and they leave a pair. Bottom of the second is coming up. It's a 1-0 Angels lead on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Angels up 1-0 as we go to the bottom of the second. That is our score update. It's brought to you by Experian. Get your credit swagger on at Experian.com. Here's the first pitch on Carlos Perez, leading things off here in the second inning. He is the Angels DH. And the first pitch in there for a strike. Perez 7 for 24 this spring. Lines one, and jumping up and catching it is the shortstop Crawford. Good play. Crawford with the vertical leap out there, nabbing that one.
He's a very useful player. Very fine player. And a lot of people have gotten to see Brandon Crawford at work because of his October assignments with the Giants and the great job he's done in the postseason.
Here's Drew Butera, and he lines one into left field. They're waiting. It was hit right at him. Is Juan Perez. So both batters have hit the ball right on the button, but nothing to show for it. 2 quick outs.
Talk about hitting the ball on the button, Barry. How about Chris Bryant, the young third baseman for the Chicago Cubs, who already has 7 home runs this spring, 2 doubles, and he also hit a home run in a B game recently. How was he not on that team?
Well, right now he is, but there's a lot of talk he might not be when they break camp, head to Chicago. Here's the pitch, and that one is low. Hitting almost 500 this spring. Yeah. He looks to be the real deal.
8 total round trippers halfway through.
There's a bouncer foul over on the first base side off the bat of Kyle Kubica. Lincecum has the new baseball. Angels touched him for a first inning run of 1-0 in the second, and there's a called strike.
He has been looking for that pitch for a long time, talking about Lincecum, just the feel for that since that first inning. He finally found it, a good location and pace on pitch number 21 of the afternoon.
1-2, bounced by the mound, right near second, stopped by Crawford. The shortstop will nip Kubica, and the Angels go down quickly and quietly here in the bottom of the second. 3 up and 3 down. We're headed to the third inning. It's 1-0 Halos on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. don't forget the 20-game flex plan. A great way to see Angels baseball. Select the 20 games you want to see from a schedule which includes opening night, premium matchups, and popular promotional giveaway nights. Buy your flex plan today at angels.com/ticket plans or call 888-796-HALO. Weaver's first pitch. It was in there on Aoki, and this one is fouled back to the screen. The count moves to 0-2. Angels up 1-0 here in the third. We'll check out the Ram out-of-town scoreboard in just a moment. It's brought to you by the Ram 1500. 0-2. Bounced on the first base side. It's a fair ball. Fielder right by the bag by Navarro. Easy play. He'll get to the bag in front of Aoki and one away here in the third inning. I want to remind you, Green Car Journal's 2015 Green Truck of the Year. The Ram 1500. Visit ramtrucks.com to learn more about the fuel-efficient Ram 1500. And on the out-of-town scoreboard, in Florida in the Grapefruit League, Toronto doubled up Philadelphia 6-3. Jose Bautista, another home run from the Blue Jays, his fourth. Josh Donaldson hit one for Toronto, his second. And Baltimore beat a twin split squad 5-3. Steve Pearce, home run number 4 this spring for Baltimore. Crawford, the batter, the Giants shortstop. First pitch, a strike. Crawford grounded out right side of the infield his first at bat, and the next pitch, big cut and a miss. 0-2. Giants a year ago were the National League wild card team, but they won the World Series. Here's the pitch, and that's up and in.
That's a nice show-me pitch there by Weave. Good finish. Good pop on that one. My associate wanted those reps to come with Drew Viterra, who's known as a very good framer.
Here's the next delivery, and this is popped back right near us. Backing out of play. Here's Bochy, the manager of the Giants. Has been having some health issues this spring. It was just over a month ago. He had a heart procedure, 2 stents inserted into his heart. But back now and feeling better, feeling stronger. There's a swing and a miss. And down on strikes goes Crawford. Weaver has strikeout number 3.
Bochy, 20 consecutive seasons managing a big league ball club. Former Padre manager Terry, is good to know that he's fine. And of course, he experienced discomfort during the annual physical for the players and coaches and staff when he arrived in camp, and those 2 stents you're talking about were inserted in his heart. But Boch is fine, and of course keeps a great sense of humor. He'll be turning 60 next month, and boy, you talk about a winner. This guy's a future Hall of Famer right there.
1 ball, no strikes on Casey McGee. Third inning, 1-0 Angels. Next pitch. That's in there for a called strike. Weaver looks good again. He was very good when we saw him on Monday, and impressive in the early going here today. 1-1 delivery. That's lined into left field. That's going to fall in front of Krause for a base hit. So 2-out single. McGee is on. Third Giants hit today. Ishikawa will be the next batter. Left-handed hitting Travis Ishikawa. He was with the Giants a few years ago, left, and then they got him back during last season. First pitch in there, called strike.
That's one reason why he's been such a perfect marriage with Bochy. The whole organization, the scouting staff is just unbelievable, outstanding. And of course, the architect, Brian Sabian. Sabian will give opportunities to guys or trade for guys that perhaps are not the most popular names floating around. And he's done it in that style. He has 3 World Series titles to show. Ishikawa, a guy he knew. How many guys would have given him the opportunity?
Mentioned Sabian, the Giants GM. He's in his 19th year as their general manager, longest tenured GM right now in baseball.
He has made trades around the July 31st deadline that some rival executives and people around baseball have laughed at. But he's had the last laugh. Guys like Ramon Ramirez, lefty Javi Lopez. Bigger names, yeah, like Carlos Beltran, he got aboard. Got Randy Johnson one year. Freddie Sanchez came aboard. Hunter Pence, Jake Peavy, Marco Scudero. I remember how many people laughed at that one. But all they do there is build and win.
There's a swing and a miss. Big cut there by Ishikawa. 1-2 to count.
Fastball gaining a little bit of life, even with the extra movement on that one up in the zone against Ishikawa by Weaver.
This will be Weaver's 49th pitch today, and it's on its way. It's popped foul, third base side. This one is going to drop over there in front of the dugout. That might have been a ball that you would have liked to have seen caught.
Well, you can see that Kubica is not wearing any sunglasses, and he didn't see that one. He gave up on the play because he has no eye protection, and on a ball that at least he thought he was going to come in and try to slide and catch. Just didn't see it.
That ball was catchable.
So where are the sunglasses? The left side of the infield.
He might be out next inning on his eyes. Here's the pitch, and that is a breaking ball low. 2-2. The Angels bat in the bottom of the third. Robertson, and then the top of the order, Calgill, Featherston. Angels playing pretty much all reserves today here behind Jared Weaver. Two. Chopped on the first base side. Navarro has it, and he will gently apply the tag, and Ishikawa and the Giants are retired to end the inning. No runs. They had a 2-out hit. No errors. They leave 1 on. Going to the bottom of the third, it's a 1-0 Angels lead on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Bottom of the third, 1-0 Angels. Today's game being brought to you by In-N-Out Burger. No freezers, no microwaves, no heat lamps ever at In-N-Out Burger. When it comes to burgers, fries, and shakes, always fresh is the only way. Why not stop in after today's game? First pitch of ball on Robertson. It's 1 ball, no strikes.
Sure, there'll be a lot of people doing exactly that after this game here today. Plenty of options here in the Valley of the Sun.
Yep. There's a bouncer just foul. Even here in Arizona, you can stop by an In-N-Out in the Phoenix area. number of locations. And, of course, all over Southern California as well.
Very popular item in clubhouses.
1-1. That's low and outside. 2 balls, 1 strike on Robertson. 6 for 28, 3 runs batted in this spring. He's trying to win a spot as a reserve outfielder for the Angels. The next pitch chops it on the left side. Shortstop Crawford with a bounce throw over to first, but Ishikawa handles it.
That is the Brandon Crawford the baseball world has seen on display in the World Series postseason. Forget about the bats. It's how many runs he saves you with that glove. His range and his baseball acumen is just tremendous.
So here is Cowgill, who has doubled and scored. Led off the Angels' first inning with the double, and then eventually scored on the Krause sac fly. First pitch, little low and into him for a ball from Lincecum. We'll see how long Lincecum goes today. He pitched just 4 innings so far this spring coming into today. There's a ball hit well in the center field, but Brown has a beat on it. The center fielder, he'll gather it in. Cowgill is retired. That's the second out. Taylor Featherston, who dropped down a sac bunt his first time up, will be the batter.
Tim Lincecum trying to find that rhythm. As we have mentioned before, he came into this game with a high ERA. Only 4 innings, but 6 hits and 6 earned runs. So far, he's allowed a couple of hard outs, but also very distinct way of getting ready. It almost seems like he is throwing from the stretch, short step to the side, always has that grip, like a split finger changeup. You can see him start off there. Not a big body, but this guy's won 2 NL Cy Youngs. And what a competitor. So you know one thing about Lincecum too is the fact that there's times when he has not been a guy that's contributed a lot during the regular season. He's been pushed back to the bullpen. He's pitched out of the bullpen in the postseason and never complained. Just says, I need to go out there and do a better job, earn those innings, and help the team however way possible.
He's enjoyed some success in the postseason, but as you mentioned, not necessarily as a starting pitcher.
Just takes the ball and he points a finger at himself when things are not going right. No excuses.
Here's the 1-1. Fouled up by Featherston on the right side, backing out of play. Lincecum has retired the last 7 Angels in a row. He's way in front here. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And the pitch, that's a little bit inside. You look at Lincecum's postseason numbers in division series play. In 3 division series, ERA 0.59. In World Series action, his ERA is 2.25. Here's the next pitch. That's bounced foul over on the left side. So the count holding, it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Here's the next delivery, and that breaking ball didn't miss by much. So it's a full count. Lincecum has also pitched 2 no-hitters, and they've each been against the Padres. One in the 2013 season, and then he pitched one last season, last June as well, against San Diego. Here's the next delivery. It's bounced by the mound out near second, scooped up by Arias, and his throw is in time to end the inning. So second straight 1-2-3 inning for Lincecum, and that'll do it for the Angels here in the bottom of the 3rd. 4th inning coming up in Tempe. It's a 1-0 Angels lead on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket.
the tunnel. You're good. All right.
Fourth inning here in Tempe. The Angels up 1-0 as Jared Weaver gets set to face Justin Maxwell on the first pitch of ball to count 1-0. It'll be Maxwell, Perez, and Sanchez for San Francisco. Here's the next pitch. That's a called strike. Fans, MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, now available. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit MLB.TV for details. And on the 1-1, a big cut and a miss by Maxwell. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Jose Mota is headed downstairs, and he can hear us. He can join us down near the Angels dugout area. There's a swing and a miss. Maxwell is retired. Weaver gets another strikeout. He's had 1 in all 4 innings. And there's 1 away. Juan Perez will be the batter. Let's pause for stations to identify themselves on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. First pitch on Perez taken for a ball. He went down swinging against Weaver back in the second. And the 1-0 pitch. A bit low and away, ball 2, 2-0.
So, Terry, yes, we will be joining Angels manager Mike Scioscia down next to his spot there on the field right after this half inning.
Here's the next pitch, and that's inside, ball 3. So Weaver's fallen behind 3-0. He's walked 1 so far today. He's allowed 3 hits. No runs. It's 1-0 Angels here in the 4th. And the 3-0 delivery taken for a called strike.
Getting a good view here, especially if you're watching on television on Prime Ticket, on Jared Weaver, the long stride, how he drives over this third base side, and then the arm coming at the hitter from here. Much different perspective, Terry.
There's a pitch in there for a called strike.
And you got that size. I mean, on top of that mound, he's looking about 7 foot coming at you. And yes, that 86 at times down here looks like 95.
So here's the payoff pitch, and that is a cut and a miss. Struck him out. Perez, a strikeout victim. Weaver did a great job there, Jose. Fell behind 3-0 and comes back to strike him out.
He keeps it all smooth to his delivery. Just is flowing, repeatable. Arm angle, release point, arm slot. Unorthodox thrown across his body, but he finds a way to make it work and make it work effectively often.
There's Sanchez at the plate, and the first one cut on and miss. The Angels go with that shift on against him. 3 infielders on the right side. We saw that when he batted in the second inning. He ended up drawing a walk. Here's the next pitch. That's a number foul on the third base side.
Terry, to my right, Johnny Giovatella is on the railing. You can see Johnny Giovatella next to Hector Santiago. And I see no protection right now, nothing covering that left thumb that he jammed last night in the game, sliding into third base with that triple. And Giovatella, as of right now, seems like, yes, he'll be day-to-day. And he said himself he could have played today.
So just a little scare, it would appear right now. Nothing too serious. Here's the next pitch, and that's a little bit low. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 4th inning, 1-0 Angels. Weaver doesn't waste any time, and here's the 1-2 pitch. Thinking about chasing that one was Hector Sanchez. He lays off at 2-2. Weaver right now at 65 pitches as he gets ready for his next one here in inning number 4. And this is lifted in the air, a lazy pop into very shallow center, going back and making the grab on it. That's Featherston. He was playing on the right side with that shift on. So it'll be a pop out to the shortstop to end the inning. That's it for the Giants. Another quiet inning against Weaver, who's retired the last 4 in a row. We're headed to the bottom of the 4th. Still 1-0 Angels on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Bottom of the fourth we go. Angels up 1-0. Today's game being brought to you by Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest. Great people, great products, great prices. Navarro leads it off for the Angels, who lead 1-0. Lincecum still pitching for San Francisco. Jose Mota's position with Angels manager Mike Scioscia. We'll go down to them in just a moment. First pitch, that's lined into right field. It's going to fall in front of Maxwell. And Navarro's on base for the second straight time as a leadoff single. The batter will be Mark Krause.
So, Terry, here we go. Mike Scioscia flexing some size here real quickly. Mike, what do you have going?
Nothing right now. You know, we don't really have a good combination here with Mark. He works counts well. Might draw a walk, and he's got some power, so we're going to let him swing the bat here. He's got that big hole at first, too, so, if he can miss hit one or roll through there while first and third.
He may not have the speed, but we saw also the double tag in Navarro. How big was that play in that first inning from Efren tagging at first base?
Well, that's huge. It could be big if, you followed up with a hit, but I think just the aggressive base running showed up last night, showed up here. Good tag by Efren to get to second, and, good situational game in the first inning for us.
Krause with a sac fly. He's driven in the game's only run. That was back in the bottom of the first inning. And the pitch, the big left-handed hitter takes a called strike. Jose, I noticed last half inning that Kyle Kubica had sunglasses on.
What do you think? That's from the old school, right?
Yep.
You know how many people approach him in that dugout in between innings?
Here's the pitch. That is a swing and a miss. Good off speed pitch right there. 0-2.
Come on.
Grant Green waits on deck. Giants are starting to get some action in their bullpen. This will be pitch 39 for Lincecum, and it's grounded on the first base side. The throw to second one. Relay to Lincecum, covering in time. That's a double play. It'll go 3-6-1. Ishikawa, Crawford to Lincecum.
Mike Scioscia down here with us on the field. Mike, you put the sacrifice early in the game. Taylor's Featherston. Second time this spring you've done it, repeating with him. Things you want to see from him early, are those the things you're trying to get answers for?
Well, no doubt. If Taylor's going to be part of our club, on the offensive side, he has to have that situational game. He has to be able to move the runner and be comfortable. He's going to get a hit and run down and a bunt. And so, it's getting a part of spring now. These guys have had enough at bats. Hopefully they're finding good timing. And we need to put that situational game into some hitters. And Taylor got the bunt down, did a good job in the first inning.
First pitch on Green, a ball to 1-0. He swings at this one and lifts it in the air down the right field side. Chasing is Maxwell, still chasing, and he'll make a nice catch in foul ground just across the foul line down in the right field corner. So Green is retired, and Jose, we want to thank Mike for the visit today on the field.
Just there at 1/2 inning.
Okay, good deal. All right, we're going to take our break. We've completed 4, and we head to the 5th inning. It's a 1-0 Angels lead on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Joaquin Arias leading it off as we head to the 5th inning. First pitch taken for a strike from Weaver, and the next one that's fouled back behind the plate. Baseball fans, catch Luxor Las Vegas's all-star lineup of shows or play the field at LAX Nightclub. Visit Luxor.com. Here's the next delivery. Fly ball lifted into center field. Robertson has a beat on it in right center, medium right center. He'll put it away. Arias is retired, and that is out number 1. It brings up Gary Brown.
Here we stay here with manager Mike Scioscia. Mike, let's talk about the clock now, the timer that has been implemented about halfway through the spring. What's your reaction? It seems like players are adapting, and Major League Baseball is happy about how things are progressing. I haven't gotten any reports on the time of game and things like that, Jose, but I think just to restore the natural pace of the game, keep things going, especially between innings. I think between pitches is fine. You've got to let the natural pace of the game play. But it'll be a plus, and hopefully we'll get, a couple minutes shaved off each game and just let it be more enjoyable to the fans and keep the action moving for the players. Let's talk about the defensive side here. You're implementing shifts against a guy like Hector Sanchez, for example. Now, with a guy like Jared Weaver, is there a different way in which you see things and positioning depending on how he's working? Oh, there's no doubt. We'll match up with specific charts with Jared Weaver against players, too, and cross-reference them just to know maybe if you have the pull guy, how far is he going to be over, or the triangle guy, just how deep he can be. So all this comes into play when Alfredo's set in the infield, and he does a good job of it.
There's a ball popped on the right side, foul. It's going to get back to the seats.
Like in general, how do you evaluate where your camp is? How do you map out the regular players moving forward and playing off days and so forth from here on?
Well, we'll start to get the guys out there a little more, and definitely we'll get down to the last 7 games of the spring. They'll be playing every day and playing deep in the games just to get that feel of coming back every day and ready for the grind of the season. But I think right now we're really happy about where guys that are important to us, Trout and Pujols, Calhoun, and Iannetta and Eric Ibar and David Freese. All the guys are going to be out there. They're getting into their game. They're doing great on the defensive side. We're doing fundamentals in the morning. These guys are really doing a nice job of that, and they'll be ready to go. We got a couple more weeks, and these guys will be ready to go when we open up.
Here's the 3-2, and that one freezes Brown. Struck him out looking. Gary Brown knew it. Weaver gets another strikeout.
Terry, that brings up the point right away with a former catcher, Mike Scioscia, on the other side, Bruce Bochy. But Mike, framing has taken a different scheme and level here. That pitch, for example, what do you like about Butera, what he's brought to your ball club in framing and blocking?
Well, Drew's really good at receiving the ball and just really giving the umpire a good look at where the pitch is. You're not trying to steal strikes, but the pitches that should be called strikes, you need them to be called strikes. And I think he does a great job of that. And I think he's come a long way. And oh gosh, just didn't quite get it. He's come a long way, and where he's evolved as a young catcher to getting pitches called strike. The last pitch was borderline high. We got the call. Drew did a good job framing it.
When that ball left the bat just now, do you think there's a better chance that ball is going to be caught, or did it get caught a little bit in that wind?
Well, I think, Daniel in center field, a good center fielder has good reaction. But if you can see that flag up on top of the mountain, I think he's really pushing that ball out. He got it up high, and it definitely carried just out of the reach of Daniel. But, Arizona is a tough place to play defense, tough place to play the outfield. The wind will carry pitches. You just try to work on the things you need to, like throwing guys out to play to cut off relays. It's tough to get acclimated down here.
Aoki just got a triple. Jose and Mike Scioscia alluded to that when it was just out of the reach of the diving Daniel Robertson, and Marte had to back up, and by the time he threw it back, Aoki had gotten to third. So the Giants have a runner at third with 2 outs. Crawford batting. Fouls this one back, not far from our booth.
Are you okay about that over there?
I'm good with that one, Jose. That was closer to your spot here in our booth. Jose, how about asking Mike Scioscia a little bit about Matt Joyce? Obviously hasn't seen a whole lot of action. Has had some nagging injuries.
Terry, I'm going to follow the 2-out rule right here. Okay.
There's a pitch a little bit low and in.
Mike, can you quickly tell us about Matt Joyce and where he's at health-wise?
Matt Joyce is going to be he's taking that bats down the minor leagues today. Hopefully in our lineup within about 2 to 3 days.
There's a pitch that's low and in.
Terry, see?
Yeah.
Social like that pitch. And I'm getting part of the stare here, Terry. The home plate umpire.
Jordan Baker with the calls of balls and strikes today. That last one not to Mike Scioscia's liking. Here's the 3-1. And that's a called strike on the outside part of the plate. Full count. Tying run at third. 2 outs. 1-0 Angels. Top of the 5th. And the next pitch popped up. First base side should be the inning. Navarro near the foul line makes the grab. A couple feet back on the outfield grass. And that will end the inning.
Mike, thank you very much.
All right, Jose, thank you.
Terry.
All right, Jose Mota, Angels manager Mike Scioscia joining us down by the Angels dugout. Here in the inning, no runs. They had the triple with 2 outs, no errors, and they leave that runner at third base. Bottom of the 5th coming up, 1-0 Angels on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Pitcher for the Giants is Yusmeiro Petit. He replaces Tim Lincecum, who worked 4 innings. Lincecum checked the Angels on 2 hits, a run earned, walked 1, did not strike out any. Petit, who last year had a nice season with the Giants. He was used mostly in relief, although he did make 12 starts, will take over. He was very good as a reliever last year for San Francisco ERA of 1.84 working out of the bullpen. First pitch, that is cut on and missed. This is Carlos Perez batting. Perez lined out to short his first time up. Petit almost pitched a perfect game last season for San Francisco. Here's a high fly ball lifted into right center field. Circling under, making the grab on that one is Maxwell, the right fielder. That's the first out. Pitching change. It's sponsored by Irvine Auto Center, where it's March Markdown Madness time. Huge markdowns in every Irvine Auto Center store. Shop online at irvineautocenter.com or visit them where the 5 meets the 405 at Lake Forest Drive in Irvine. Batter now is Butera. First pitch takes it outside. Angels have left-hander Greg Maile up in the bullpen. We've seen him a few times this spring, a non-roster player, and pitch that's low. 2 balls, no strikes. As Petit works here for San Francisco, this is his 4th outing this spring. 6 2/3 innings coming in, 5 hits, 4 earned runs allowed, walking 4, striking out 2. And the next pitch, 2-0 delivery, called strike. Pitching's been good on both sides. Giants have actually out-hit the Angels, but trail the Angels 1-0. And the next delivery, this one is popped in the air into right field. Another play for Maxwell. He will make the catch on that one. That's the 2nd out. Maxwell getting some action out there in right field here the last couple innings.
Terry, good to see you.
Hosey, welcome back.
I got some good stuff from Mike Social.
The batter now is Kyle Kubica. Yeah, kind of got a chuckle out of Mike taking exception to one of the calls by Jordan Baker. Called a pitch a ball that Mike thought was a strike.
A game is a game. Doesn't matter if we're next to him.
Ah.
So I told you I was getting part of the stare back from Jordan Baker.
You definitely got some of the sounds of the game down there, Jose.
That's great. Really appreciate Mike Socha. Always so generous in allowing us to have access down on the field in spring training. And gives us a little insight into the signs. That's the best part of it, you know.
Kind of get a heads up on what the Angels might be doing as far as a hit and run, or maybe a squeeze, run and hit, straight steal, all kind of things. Part of the game when you're on offense, when you have some people on base. Here's the 2-0, and that's low and in, ball 3. 3-0 on Kubica. Bottom of the 5th inning. It's being brought to you by Rotolo Chevrolet in Fontana, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in California. Rotolo Chevrolet is pursuing excellence every day, so visit them at Rotolo.com. And the 3-0 green light, cut on, fouled off on the left side. That's backing out of play.
A lot of green lights, 3-0 lately. Well, because Mike Socha is really trusting certain guys that have a good idea about the strike zone, on the fact that they're not going to spread out and chase pitches and make easy outs. 3-0. Saw the green light for Chris Iannetta recently with a home run. And more guys 3-0 swinging and really hitting the ball hard, making the most out of that situation, that count.
Next pitch, that's taken for a called strike, so now it's a full count. Petit averaged better than a strikeout an inning last year, and he was a pitcher who gave the Giants quite a lift no matter how they used him. And the next delivery, that's outside. He walks Kubica. So the Angels have a 2-out base runner. Second walk surrendered by Giants pitching today, and we'll see what Daniel Robertson can do. Robertson grounded out to short his first time up.
There's another guy on the mound that many people around baseball didn't think had enough left on him. All he did was go out there and take them out for the Giants and give him a chance to win pretty much every single time out. At one point, he was behind Baumgartner, the most dependable starter they had.
Toss over to first base. Kubica gets back. He had 21 stolen bases last year in Double-A. A big guy who can run a little bit. Right-hander against right-hander, and Petit's pitch. Swing and a miss by Robertson.
There's a good point to try to get something he could drive here for Daniel Robertson. 2-out walk. Something you want to capitalize on a strike thrower especially. Robertson's strong pull side, still trying to find a way to stay behind the ball a little bit more and use that opposite field power that he has.
Here's the next delivery, and that is taken for a strike, so it's quickly 0-2. Jared Weaver, the Angels starter, going 5 innings. We'll see if he's back out to at least start the 6th inning.
That was a plan beginning today, and he has been pretty much in tune with his pitch count today.
Pitch out, nothing doing as Kubica was not breaking. So it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Gary DiSarcina flashing the signs down from the third base coaching box for both the runner at first and the batter. There's not a whole lot of options here right now for Robertson with 2 strikes on him. And the 1-2 delivery, cuts at it and pops it back foul. It's going to get back on the right side, backing out of play.
Well, you look at we talk about shifts. It's not necessarily just on the infield and dead pull shifts, but there's a slight shift opposite field here with 2 strikes on Daniel Robertson. They're giving him pretty much the whole line and left field. All this is his. And the gap in right center field is actually pretty big because the right fielder's shading near the line.
Petit's next delivery, runner goes, pitches a ball, throw to second high. It skips off the glove of Arias. Ball goes into shallow right center. Kubica will move on to third. So stolen base and a throwing error on the catcher Sanchez, and the Angels have a runner at third with 2 outs. Hit would mean a run here.
Well, you mentioned Kubica's 21 stolen bases last year. Gets a very good jump, all based on a good lead, and this throw absolutely sailed on the catcher Sanchez, but a ball that Joaquin Arias has to stop. That ball needs to be caught first, and then you try to apply a tag.
So they're going to score the error, not on the throw by the catcher, but on Arias, who was the player trying to receive the throw. E4 is the proper. Yeah.
I mean, too many times around baseball we see the automatic E2 because the ball gets away around the second base area, when a lot of times there's a guy trying to be too quick with a tag that misses not a good throw, but a decent throw, or at least a throw that if he catches it and the guy is safe, that's all the harm done.
So it's a full count here on Robertson. And the next pitch, that one is taken for a called third strike. Got him looking. It nicked the inside part of the plate, and that's how the Angels inning will end. In the inning, no runs, no hits, a walk, an error, and the Angels leave a runner at third. We've completed 5. We head to the 6th inning. Still 1-0 Angels on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Jared Weaver at least out to start the top of the 6th inning, and his first pitch on Casey McGee misses for ball 1. Weaver right now at 83 pitches. And here's the next one. That's a little bit low and outside. 2-0. Hope you're enjoying the action. Angels baseball on this Saturday, wherever you're tuned in, whether it be on the Angels Baseball Radio Network or Prime Ticket. Here's the next pitch, and a swing and a miss. Good off-speed pitch.
Tell you what, you watch Weaver from up here, and it looks way slower, obviously, because of our distance from him. But you get down on field level, and you can see how that fastball at 86 looks like 93, 94 getting on guys.
2-1. This one is popped up. Third base side foul. Kubica is coming over.
Hey!
Sunglasses on this time.
That's
He makes
right.
the grab.
That's right. There's no excuses not to have those on. If you've seen enough games in this ballpark, anywhere, outfield, infield, put them on. You see, he doesn't have the Oaklands per se that are stationary right on your face, but you can flip them up, flip them down, and get the job done.
So Mike Scioscia has gone out to the mound, and Weaver's day is done. Excellent work again for Jared Weaver as he goes 5 1/3 innings of scoreless baseball here today. The call to the bullpen is brought to you by Farmer John. If you're tailgating under the Big A, watching the game at home, pick up Farmer John hot dogs, smoked dinner sausage to get that authentic stadium taste anytime. Visit farmerjohn.com for recipes that are sure to be a home run. When we get back, we'll tell you about the new Angels reliever breaking the action, 6th inning. Angels still up 1-0 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Left-hander Greg Mahle is the new pitcher for the Angels, and we have seen him 4 times this spring, a total of 2 innings, allowing 1 hit, no runs. He has a win in relief, so he has to try and get the final couple outs here. He faces a left-handed batter, Ishikawa, and slings the first pitch in there for a called strike.
Good lefty-lefty matchup here. Jared Weaver outstanding once again. No runs allowed, 86 pitches. He got his work in, and Mike Scioscia wanted him up in the 6th inning. He got him up to the mound. Mission accomplished.
Weaver went 5 1/3 innings, allowing 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. There's the next one from Mahle, a little bit up and in with that fastball. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Mahle, a guy that, of course, can trick you if you're a lefty, thinking he's going to really drop down on you, but it's more how he drops down his upper body and then raises his arm slot. Just like that.
There's a pitch that is inside, and it's now 3-1.
Just with some depth. Terry from the left side. Sarah Mahle, Wilk, and obviously Snodgrass.
On the 3-1, he walks Ishikawa on 5 pitches. So not what the Angels were looking for there, especially that lefty-lefty matchup. One out base runner. And it brings up Justin Maxwell.
Hoping to see a little bit more aggressiveness and perhaps not to go through his mechanics so quickly. Concentrate on that glove. Drew Butera is ideal as a veteran guy who has caught some big names. Dodgers pitchers love throwing to him and to A.J. Ellis.
Here's the pitch, and that one is tapped foul over on the first base side.
Tell you one presence that I miss around here today anytime we see the Giants, and he's not here at third base. Good friend Tim Flannery.
Yep.
Who, yes, he retired. That's why he is not coaching third base. Roberto Kelly now the new third base coach for the Giants. He moves over from first base, and Bill Hayes now coaching first for Bruce Bochy.
Next delivery from Maile, and that one missed for a ball. It's 1-1.
Tim Flannery, a dear friend, of course, on and off the field, Bruce Bochy.
Maile's from Westminster, went to UC Santa Barbara, and there's a pitch that's cut on and missed. So the count 1 ball 2 strikes. Maile last year pitched at Burlington and Rookie League Orem. Here's the next delivery. It's a little pop into shallow right center field. That's going to fall in for a base hit. They're going to have runners at the corners. So the Giants have something brewing here with 1 out. First 2 batters that have faced Maile have reached base safely. And Juan Perez, who struck out a couple of times against Weaver, will be the next batter. And now we see Mike Scioscia coming out of the Angel dugout.
Already made the call to the bullpen.
And Maile will be lifted here, so he will only face 2 batters and did not retire either one of them. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Farmer John. If you're tailgating under the Big A or watching the game at home, pick up Farmer John hot dogs, smoked dinner sausage. You get that authentic stadium taste anytime. Visit farmerjohn.com for recipes that are sure to be a home run. When we get back, we'll tell you about the new Angel reliever, a right-hander coming in from the bullpen. Breaking the action. Angels still up by a run, 1-0 here in the 6th on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. The Ivy Leaguer Frank Herman will take over for the Angels. And this will be his 5th appearance this spring. In 3 innings, he's allowed 5 hits and 4 runs, including a home run. So Herman, who was in the Indians organization for a number of years, signed a minor league deal with the Angels, gets ready to work.
He's allowed a few balls hit hard here this spring, as the opponents are hitting well over 300 against him, but with the experience and also from his arm getting stronger, he should be just fine as a veteran pitcher.
Here's the pitch from Herman, and that's a strike on the outside corner. He had the Tommy John elbow surgery. It was back this time 2 years ago, March of 2013.
So besides the fact that he did not play all of 2013, Terry, pitching only 28 games last year. So that arm's just coming back.
Sure.
No matter what. As we build strength, repetitions, continuing rehab, continuing your strengthening programs. Conditioning is a huge part, of course, of that rehab.
Pitch was fouled back to the screen. The count 0-2. Herman, before the injury, a guy who had a good power sinker, good velocity, would top out around 96 miles per hour. Here's the next pitch. Took something off that one. It's missed. The ball got away from the catcher. Throw to the plate and safe. Coming in and scoring is Ishikawa on the strikeout. So the game is tied at 1.
We're finished 2. The pitch by Herman. Ball gets between the legs of Butera, apparently. Quick recovery. And the throw is there on time, but Herman is not as he's running.
So it's going to be scored a strikeout pass ball. 1-1 to score. 2 outs in the inning, and Maxwell moved up to second base on that play. So this is the catcher Sanchez batting now. And the Angels do have the shift on against him in the first pitch. He takes it for a ball, 1-0.
If you're watching on TV, we'll see how that ball got by Butera here. Clearly a ball that he thought was going to drop, and he actually, Terry, could have caught it in the air.
Yeah.
Thus a pass ball.
So that run goes against Maley, and right now it's an unearned run. Here's the next delivery. It's popped foul on the left side, backing out of play. The Angels hit in the bottom of the 6th, 1-1 ball game. Calgill, Featherston, and Navarro. Let's see what the Giants do pitching-wise. Their bullpen's quiet, so we'll likely see Petit for another inning. Herman ready. 1-1 pitch. Big cut and a miss. Throw to second, and just getting back to the bag goes Maxwell.
Good aggressive play on both ends by Butera, whose throw actually came close to too close to Herman. And then on Featherston, catching a tough hop and keeping it in front of him.
1-2 the count. Here's the next pitch. That's way high and outside. The Angels are also slated to pitch Houston Street today in relief. Joe Smith. Cesar Ramos is on the board, as is left-handed reliever Scott Snodgrass.
The Giants showing that they are pretty happy that Jared Weaver left the game. Jumped on the Angels reliever right away.
Yeah, there's one foul back behind the plate. Two and two the count. Should be getting today's attendance shortly, and we have a packed house here today. Might be the biggest crowd this spring here at Tempe Diablo Stadium. Angels take on the Dodgers here next Saturday. That game is also sold out. So they will be filling the place for that one as well. Here's the next pitch. Broke his bat, pops it up in a shallow right center field. A lot of people are converging on it. It drops between everyone. Robertson, Featherston, Green, and Marte. That ball just wasn't going to be caught right there. Kind of unbelievable. There were so many people around it, but no one could quite get to it. 2-1 Giants on the bloop RBI hit.
Keep in mind, this is with a shift on, where you actually had another position player closer to where the ball was traveling. There's times, Terry, as you say, the ball just doesn't want to be caught. That ball was in the air a long time where somebody should have taken charge. That time happens a lot when you have guys in what's considered more out of position, but with a shift on, your angles change, the ball goes in one direction. Sometimes you don't know what the guy next to you is.
There's a pitch in there for a strike. So that run which scored will go against Maley, and as it turns out, as a result of that hit, both runs against Maley end up being earned. The pass ball doesn't really factor into things now. Here's the pitch. That's fouled back on the right side. Oh, 0-2 the count. Arias is the batter. Hermanson's coming in as a strikeout, and he's given up a hit. Here's the next pitch, and boy, it didn't miss by much. Pretty close pitch right there. The top of the 6th inning being brought to you by Roto-Rooter. For plumbing, sewer, or drain problems, call the professionals at Roto-Rooter. Get it done. Roto-Rooter right. Call 1-800-GET-ROTO. Here's the 1-2. Way up and in. 2-2.
Angels' next home game, they get a look at division rival Seattle Mariners. We'll be here on Monday at Tempe Diablo. The Angels tomorrow, as previously announced, will be over seeing the Giants again at Scottsdale Stadium. Seattle Mariners, a restacked ball club. And Terry, they're gained so much depth. Get guys like Jones and Stephen Romero were sent down to minor league camp. As Lloyd McClendon, their manager, said, well, that's what happens when you start getting good. Franklin Gutierrez, who came in the camp, stayed healthy, and was trying to gain a spot. He was sent down. Miguel Montero, at one time I can't miss prospect with the Yankees. And things have gotten south for him in Seattle. He got sent down.
Yeah, Seattle, they were good last season. They figured to be maybe better this year. Here's the pitch. Fouled back on the right side out of play. Just the addition.
I truly believe that. They will be better.
Yeah, just Nelson Cruz makes them better offensively, a lot better than a year ago.
Go around it with Seager. Still a question of shortstop, but you got Cano. You got Zunino, who came into his own last year with a bat.
Cano finally has a little protection in that lineup. Here's the pitch. Hit well in the center field. Robertson is going back, still back, has a beat on it, and he'll flag it down straightaway center. Arias hit it hard, but he's retired, and the inning is over. So the Giants get their first 2 runs, and they take the lead. 2 runs, 2 hits, a walk, a pass ball in the inning. No errors, and 1 runner left. We're headed to the bottom of the 6th, and right now San Francisco on top 2-1 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Brewers are leading the Angels 2-1 as we start the bottom of the 6th. And the Angels will send up the top of the batting order. Cowgill, Featherston, and Navarro against Yusmeiro Petit.
If you look at down that right field line, then the guy you saw walking is a 2-time National League Cy Young Award winner. You go, what? Looks like a high school kid out there. In fact, Lincecum was walking out and he was locked in the stadium. He couldn't find somebody to open the gate in right field.
Right.
All taken care of.
So we'll see if the Angels can get it going here in the bottom of the 6th inning, and the first pitch in there for a strike.
Terry, I understand that Greg Maddux used to walk out in his golf attire after outings like this, and nobody recognized the professor. Imagine that. Golf attire, heading out to the links.
Yeah.
After an outing, nobody knew who he was.
0-1 pitch. That's low and outside. 1-1 the count. This is actually Marte who is batting. He came in to replace Cowgill, so he's getting his first at bat today. Cowgill was 1 for 2. And the next delivery found back behind the plate. Bottom of the 6th inning today. It's being brought to you by Rotolo Chevrolet in Fontana, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in California. Rotolo Chevrolet is pursuing excellence every day, so visit them at rotolo.com. Angels have Houston Street up in the bullpen, so we'll likely see him in the top of the 7th. Here's the pitch on Marte. Takes that one low. Marte was involved in the Angels' comeback against the Dodgers a couple days ago, which that game ended up in a tie. The Angels got a couple runs in the 9th inning in that game to even it up against the Dodgers. We did not play extra innings. Here's one softly hit on the left side. New third baseman is Duvall, and his throw is in time to get Marte for the first out. Adam Duvall just came into the game this inning to replace Casey McGee.
Well, you want that ball hit to you. You want to get your feet wet, get into the flow of the game. And of course, for your manager and the staff, that you could be a dependable guy coming in to play some defense. Giants come into this game 5-13. Angels come into this game 8 wins, 7 losses. The Angels come into this game hitting .304 as a team.
There's a pitch on its way. That's in there for a strike. Yeah, the Angels have been scoring a lot of runs of late. Not too many today, just 1 so far, but had 11 yesterday. And the game before, the Angels had that tie against the Dodgers. Scored 7 in that game. Had 11 the game before against the Rockies. That was on Tuesday. There's a swing and a miss.
And as shaky as Lincecum looked in the first inning, there were some hard hit outs also in the second inning. He came out looking great. His best outing so far this spring. Angels only 2 hits so far.
Featherston deep in the hole here. He's down 0-2. The pitch, swing and a miss. Boy, he took a big cut at that and missed it. Struck him out. He looked like he was looking to hit it way out to left center field.
But I hope he doesn't get into the funk now, thinking about seeing the end of the line there, and that goal line just within reach, and tries to do too much now.
Efrain Navarro will be the next batter.
Yusmeiro Petit. Gotta go back to his days with the Florida Marlins when he first came up in 2006. He was part of the Diamondbacks organization. Played in Mexico in 2011 at Oaxaca. The Giants gave him a chance, and he's been a contributor ever since.
He did not have a real good run while he was with the D-backs. Speaking of Petit,
let's just say there's not that many guys that after playing in the big leagues and heading to Mexico end up again in the big leagues with significant roles, not just like an appearance. It was out of Maracaibo in Venezuela. This guy retired at one point 46 consecutive batters, and that is a record all time. 46 consecutive batters. He broke Mark Burley's record by 1 batter, and that was Petit last year.
behind 3-0 right now here on Efren Navarro. Mark Krause would be up next. And the 3-0 called strike. Teed is working in his second inning. He has yet to give up a hit. He has walked a batter. He struck out a couple, allowed no runs. Here's the next delivery. It's popped foul back behind home.
He did a good job for the Giants in the division series against Washington Ball Club. 6 innings, 1 hit, 7 strikeouts. And those 6 innings came in relief last October. Through 3 innings, 1 hit. No runs also in the championship series.
Here's one lifted into center field, not too deep, and that's going to drop in for a hit. So Navarro has his second hit of the day. 2-out single here in the 6th inning. That ball placed in between Brown and the shortstop Crawford, who was going back on it. So the Angels have a base runner. Krause will be the hitter. He's driven in the only Angel run with a sac fly. And let's pause for station identification on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Terry Smith, Jose Mota. Our producer engineer is Darren Chan here from Tempe Diablo Stadium. That hit by Navarro, only the 3rd of the day for the Angels, and Navarro has 2 of the 3. And Krause takes the first one for a strike.
Krause making his case himself. Came into this game hitting .467, getting on base for .571. Sac fly in the first inning. He's versatile, and he can help you with one swing. He's got some pop. Hit a ball here to straight center for a home run.
Takes that one high and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bullpen is quiet right now for the Giants. Giants also have Javier Lopez slated to pitch today. Here's the next delivery, and it's low and outside. 2-1. You missed it earlier. The Angels announced today that relief pitcher Corey Rasmus will undergo surgery. And it's not arm related. Appears to be a sports hernia. Here's the pitch. Low outside, 3-1.
So Rasmus will be out for a few weeks, and of course that opens up opportunity for somebody else. And the name that Mike Butcher kept bringing up, Drew Brzezinski, who was impressive in an emergency start recently against Colorado, facing their A team, and pretty much cruised right through that lineup for 4 innings. Outstanding.
Yeah, 3 times this spring. 1-0 record, 2.45 ERA. There's one that's hit well into left center field. This ball's hit in the gap in left center. It'll split the outfielders and roll out to the wall. Ball was fumbled a bit by Brown. Coming in and scoring easily from second will be Efren Navarro, and this game is tied at 2.
Well, those are the things that are keeping Mark Krause as one of those candidates for the Angels, along with Navarro, in that versatility outfield first base backup spot, left-hander off the bench. Nice and easy swing, driving the ball, cuts through the wind, and really works himself into a good count against a pretty decent pitcher. And with one swing, it's tied up.
So Krause driving in both Angel runs, and now he will get the rest of the day off. We'll have a pinch runner for him. Yarby Myers will be the pinch runner. He'll probably stay in the game and play some outfield as well. Krause went 1 for 2 officially with 2 runs batted in. So the batter now is Green. A hit could give the Angels the lead.
Grant Green came into this game hitting a decent .292, but a lot of whiffs. He led the ball club with 9 strikeouts coming into today. And that is just not part of his game.
Here's the next pitch on Green. Fouled off on the right side, backing out of play.
Grant Green thrives on putting the ball in play, using the whole field, being a tough out. And perhaps could be a little jumpy, maybe a little out of sync here in spring training as of right now.
He's had just 1 RBI. He could get one here with a hit. Petito 2, high and away.
Also, you talk about leading the ball club in some category. Taylor Featherston has played now in 16 games, and that leads the Angels. Angels getting the most of their Rule 5 acquisition.
Here's the next pitch, and that one is taken by Green for a ball. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Rule 5 via trade acquisition. Prearranged trade. And hope to talk to Taylor after this ball game. Mark Gubicza is here. And we get on with Angels Live after the game.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Next pitch. Bounced out towards short. Fielded there by Crawford. The throw is in time to get Green, and that's how the inning will end. But the Angels do get a 2-out run to tie it. In the inning, the Angels had 2 hits. There were no errors. And the Angels leave 1 runner on base. 7th inning is coming up in Tempe. It's a 2-2 game. Angels and Giants on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Angels closer Houston Street gets ready for outing number 3 this spring. Hey fans, the annual Angels 5K and Fun Run presented by St. Joseph Hoag Health will take place on Saturday, April the 11th. That's coming up soon. Participants will run a course through Angel Stadium, receive a commemorative shirt, the 2015 5K medal, as well as a voucher to watch the Angels play that same evening. For more information and to sign up, visit angels.com/5K. Proceeds will benefit the Angels Baseball Foundation. So Houston Street takes over. He replaces Frank Herman, and the first pitch from Street, that is low and outside on Gary Brown.
Time to go to work for Houston Street, as he is very methodical about telling his catchers where to set up, how he wants the ball to travel, where he wants to miss. And he says, the hitters always tell me where I'm missing.
Next pitch lifted in the air into right field. Circling under is Marte in right center. Easy play, makes the catch. That's out number 1 in the 7th.
I was asking Houston Street about coming into games in spring training later or middle of games to face some of the main hitters in any lineup. He goes, it really doesn't matter. I just need to go out there and get my work in. And I repeat, he said, a double-A, a single-A hitter will tell me more about what I need to be doing, even with foul balls. A big league hitter will not tell me. He will just hit my mistakes and crush them.
At the plate now is Aoki, and he slices one foul over on the left side, backing out of play.
It's always fun to watch a guy that's pretty much in control of things. That Houston, after the first out, told his first baseman, move back. I want you to move back a little bit.
Here's the next pitch, and it's hit sharply to first. Good stop by Navarro.
You know why? Huh?
And just like Street figured, the ball hit right to Navarro where he was positioned for the second out.
If Navarro is in 2 steps, that ball is going to get right by him. It's all about what Street wanted to do against Aoki. Missing in, knowing that this ball was probably going to be pulled. And he was right.
Top of the 7th. It's being brought to you by Roto-Rooter. Leaky pipes, clogs, backups, and bad water heater. Call Roto-Rooter at 1-800-GET-ROTO, and away go troubles down the drain. Here's the pitch on Crawford. He looks it into the mid of catcher Drew Butera. That's a called strike. We'll check out the Jeep out-of-town scoreboard in just a moment. It's brought to you by the 2015 Jeep Cherokee. Advanced technology, safety, and capability for every road. There's Jeep.com for more information. Pitch misses for a ball. It's 1-1 in the Cactus League today. Cubs are up on Seattle 11-5. That's in the 5th inning. Chris Bryant 2 home runs for the Cubs.
What?
He now has 8 in Cactus League play.
Are you kidding me?
And the A's have a 4-0 lead against the Reds. That's in the 6th inning. Lowry a home run in that ball game.
I always say, as a young hitter, as a young player, you're a prospect. You make it tough on the decision makers. Of course, on your decision. Make it real tough as possible. Be a top prospect and go out there and play and not perform, it doesn't matter. You're going to make it very easy on them if you don't bring your game. But Chris Bryant is bringing his game.
Angels will see Bryant and the Cubs coming up next Thursday on the 26th.
And the opposite, Javier Baez with the Cubs continues to have trouble.
The 2-2 pitch on Crawford, and that one got a piece of him. Got hit by it on a 2-2.
Try to get him off the plate, knowing that Crawford, of course, and many of these Giants hitters have seen Houston Street a lot of times through the years. Crawford leaning in, looking for that changeup, off-speed sinker away, and Houston say, nope, bust you in, get you off the plate. You're leaning too much.
Got hit on the side there. Adam Duvall will be the batter. He's batting for the first time today, hitting out of McGee's spot. Right-handed batter. Duvall's had a lot of at-bats this spring for the Giants. Not a whole lot of luck, though. 5 for 35. And he cuts and misses that one for strike one. They've taken a long look at him this spring. He was in 28 games for them last year and hit just 192.
Well, the 3 home runs do speak for themselves. This guy right now has been a hit or miss. But when he hits and connects, the ball will travel.
Here's the pitch. Runner goes. Pitch is missed. Throw to second. Late. Bounced in. Stolen base there for Crawford. He's not a real big base stealer. He had 5 last year for the Giants.
The combination was the fact that Houston Street is not very good also on getting the ball to the plate. Bruce Bochy, better than anybody, knows that.
Well, they saw Street a long time when he would be in the Giants division with the Padres. Yeah.
Many times, including here in spring training when he was with the A's and the Rockies.
So the count's 0-2 on Duvall, and the next pitch low, smothered there by Butera.
Good job, Butera, getting that body down. He has a tendency sometimes to stand up.
We get to the bottom of the 7th, 2-2 game. Angels will be sending up Perez, Butera, Kubica. And the Giants do have action in their bullpen now. 1-2 delivery. Bounce back to the mound. Stopped easily by Street, who underhands that toss over to Navarro in plenty of time. The inning is over on the comebacker. In the Giants' 7th, no runs, no hits, no errors. Hit batsman, they leave 1. 7th inning stretch time here in Tempe. It's a 2-2 score on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Here in the bottom of the 7th, 2-2 ball game. New pitcher in the ball game for the San Francisco Giants, Gene Machi. And the pitching change sponsored by Irvine Auto Center's March Markdown Madness. Over 5,000 new and used vehicles to choose from. Huge markdowns all month long. Shop online at IrvineAutoCenter.com or visit them where the 5 meets the 405 at Lake Forest Drive in Irvine. A couple of other changes for San Francisco as well. They have Brandon Hicks now at second base, and A-Ray Adrianza is now playing shortstop. Machi delivers, and that one is low and outside. Next pitch on Perez. Takes that one for a called strike. Machi last year in 71 games for the Giants. Good numbers. 7-1 record, 2.58 ERA. There's the pitch. Lined right up the middle. That's going to fall in for a base hit. Perez with his first hit today. Angels have a base runner. Drew Butera will be the next batter.
That's a good start right there. Well, every time you see the Giants and a lot of these teams, we could also see some of our colleagues. And to our right, 2 of the very best in the business in the broadcast booth. John Miller, honored by the Hall of Fame in 2010 with the Ford Seat Frick Award. And Mike Krukow himself. 25 years in the TV booth, 21 years for Krukow on radio. So Always good to visit those two great characters of the game before the game. And good to see Crook also doing the games. He's had some health issues as of late. And a very popular figure in the Bay Area.
Yep.
Have a great team with Dwayne Kuiper, Dave Fleming.
Here's the pitch. Round to bunt is Butera. He ends up taking that pitch for ball one. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Machi replaces Petit, who worked the last 2 innings for the Giants. Angels had a couple of hits, scored a run against him. Petit walked 1, struck out 2. Will not figure in the decision. It's a 2-2 game, bottom of the 7th. There goes the runner of the pitch. Yeah, that one is fouled back behind the plate.
This is where you got to figure out Mike Scioscia today using different options. This, you would think, would be an automatic bunt situation, but it's not. First inning, he bunted with a man at second base. Nobody out in the first inning to get some work in. But now he considers Butera, and he wants to see from Butera how he handles these types of situations in the regular season with a hit and run.
So the count's 1-1. We'll see how the Angels play it here on the next pitch.
Can do it again.
Toss over to first, and back goes the base runner Perez.
Why is Alfredo moving back to Terry? Huh?
Say, that had Alfredo Griffin, the Angels' first base coach, a little jumpy there. He thought that pickoff toss was going to hit him.
He thought he was getting picked off himself.
Here's the next pitch. Butera is around the bunt, lays off a high one.
There's option number 2. Going for the straight bunt, sacrifice. Giants corners crashing in. There's where Gary DiSarcina, the third base coach, stays quite busy making sure every detail, every touch, every hotkey, whatever it is, he needs to stay on so the players don't get confused.
As Machi pitches here, he's working his 8th game this spring. Here's the next delivery. There's the bunt. Pretty good one in front of the plate. Only one chance for an out first base as Machi fields and throws out. Drew Butera gets a sac bunt, moving Perez up to second base.
There you go. Give him one shot to swing the bat with a runner in motion, and then goes to the surest thing. That is to get the bunt down, as Butera has been able to survive in the big leagues. Because since 2010, he's been a guy that has not been an everyday player, but he can do things like this, even with a career average under 200.
Here's Kubica getting ready to bat. He walked and stole bases last time up. He's played the whole game at third base. Officially 0 for 1. And he takes that one for a called strike. Today's attendance here in Tempe, 9,641, 96-41. It is a sellout. There's a swing and a miss by Kubica. One thing about Machi is a good split finger fastball. That's kind of his bread and butter pitch.
And there it was. And he'll throw it. The fastball counts. Don't be fooled by the last names. He is another Venezuelan.
Oh and 2 on Kubica. Next delivery. Tried to pick inside. Missed a little bit low. 1 and 2. Angels had a 1-0 lead in this game, and that was the score going all the way to the 6th inning. Then the Giants got 2 in the top of the 6th. Angels matched it. Matched it to tie the game up with a run in the bottom of the 6th. 2-2 now, bottom of the 7th. Here's the pitch, low, 2 and 2.
Machi, another one of those players like Asher Collar we were talking about. Yennefer Navarro, who did not have it easy to get to the big leagues. He made it to the big leagues in his 13th professional season. 13 years for this original Philly, and spent 3 years in the Venezuelan Summer League before he even made it to the U.S.
10 seasons in the minors before the call-up in 2012. Here's the pitch. This is grounded on the right side. It's going to get the runner over to third. The throw by Hicks. The new second baseman is in time to get Kibitza. So he does advance the runner, but now the Angels need a 2-out hit. We'll see if Robertson can come through.
That's a good jam shot. And Kibitza looking away because of the split finger kept him honest with that fastball.
So Robertson will be looking to try and give the Angels the lead. We'll see how it plays out. He's had an 0-for-2 day. Driven in 3 so far this spring. Hit means a run here. Right-hander against right-hander. Machi ready, and the pitch in there, called strike. Tomorrow, Angels and Giants again. That game will be in Scottsdale. It's going to be C.J. Wilson against Madison Bumgarner. And on Monday, Angels right back here in Tempe to take on Seattle with Matt Shoemaker facing Erasmo Ramirez. Shoemaker's had kind of a rough go so far this spring. That'll be an interesting outing for him coming up on Monday right here.
He just hasn't gotten a feel for everything repeatedly, inning after inning. He's had to make adjustments, and you've got to have every faith and confidence that he will find that touch again, Terry.
There's a cut and a miss. 0-2 now, the count on Daniel Robertson.
Joe Smith gets ready. And for Matt Shoemaker, Terry, even during the regular season, there were times when he thought, well, they are figuring him out. And before you know it, he'd go out there, give up an early 4-5 runs, and he was in the ballgame still in the 6th or 7th inning because he figured it out during the game.
Here's the next delivery, and boy, that one didn't miss by much. 1-2 the count. Close pitch to take with 2 strikes there for Robertson.
This time he featured that split finger, turns it over. One thing we've seen from Daniel Robertson too at times is he's very patient and sometimes way too selective with 2 strikes. Needs to get in protect mode a little bit more.
1-2. He chops this one on a high hop to short. It's fielded by the new shortstop Adrianza, and he will throw out Robertson at first. The inning is over. So the Angels leave a runner at third and fail to score here in the 7th. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 runner left. 8th inning coming up. We're tied at 2 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. As we go to the 8th inning in a 2-2 ball game, Joe Smith will take over. And he will replace Houston Street. Street did a nice job today, as we saw him pitch for the third time this spring. And Joe Smith, who has done a solid job, will be the next Angel pitcher.
The very dependable Joe Smith, who led the Angels with 76 appearances last season, and right now he is on a accelerated program because he missed time due to back tightness for a couple of weeks.
This will be the third time that he has worked this spring. So here's Ishikawa to lead it off. He scored the Giants' first run. That was back in the 6th inning. Goes after the first pitch and grounds a ball to Navarro. He's been like a vacuum cleaner over there at first base today. And he fields this one and flips to Joe Smith, and one quick out.
So Navarro so far has saved Weaver. He has saved Street. And now, first batter, he also saves one for Joe Smith. And he's also done it with the bat. He and Mark Krause putting together some outstanding performances here today. The bat and the glove.
Justin Maxwell, the next hitter. Maxwell singled and scored in the 6th inning. He's 1 for 3. Smith delivers, pitch right in there for a called strike.
Smith will average around the 87, 88 miles an hour with his fastball. Nothing straight. Both sides of the plate spread out on him. And at times he can even cut that frisbee around. Started out on the plate and finished it way off the plate.
There's one fouled off. So his wife Allie on TV last night. She's covering some of the NCAA basketball tournament games.
Very good sports mind, his wife Allie.
Yep.
Who's worked in both coasts.
Oh, 0-2 is the count. Here's the next delivery, and that one is a little bit low. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Joe Smith loads up by bringing his front leg back, and then he also taps on his glove.
The pitch there didn't miss by much. Close one to take with 2 strikes, but it's ball 2. Here's the next delivery. Chopped softly on the third base side. Kubica charges, fields, throws right on the money. Second out here in the 8th inning.
Kyle Kubica has had a very interesting afternoon. He prefers ground balls, though, Terry, to the pop-ups. Because it all started with not wearing his sunglasses, shades, and giving up on a ball that should have been caught. And Weaver on the mound, he got to make those plays. And then lesson learned. Gets a pep talk from a few people, wears the shades, and comes out and makes plays. How many people want to talk to him between innings about where the shades were?
Really?
About 7.
Well, they were just trying to give him some good advice.
That's it.
And he listened and put on the flip sunglasses and did not make the same mistake the next time the ball was popped up in foul ground on that third base side. 2-0 here on Perez, who's had a pretty tough day, up 3 times with 3 strikeouts.
Here I recall my mistake doing that one time in camp with Bobby Valentine as the Rangers manager. And I didn't follow a pop-up, dropped in fair territory. And he goes, what, did the sun just decided to pop up? You didn't know the sun was out? That was the last time. He embarrassed me, and I deserved it.
3-0 delivery. He had the green light, did Perez, and he just chopped that one foul over by his batter waiting on deck. The Giants didn't bring all the regulars here today, and they've only made 1 substitution in the field with McGee leaving for Duvall. Other than that, everyone else in the starting lineup still there in the pitch. This is hit down the third base side. It's a fair ball. Kubica's throw is just in time to end the inning. Close play. Perez is retired. And the Giants go down on 3 groundouts. against Joe Smith. Bottom of the 8th inning is coming up. It is a 2-2 ball game on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Santiago Casillas, the new pitcher for the Giants, and the Angels are going to go with the pinch hitter Roger Kieschnick for Alfredo Marte, who is scheduled to bat. So this will be Kieschnick hitting. Got a left-handed batter in there against the new right-handed reliever. Casillas ended up being the closer for the Giants last season. He had 19 saves and 23 save opportunities, and the first pitch, that one is in there for a called strike on Kieschnick.
Garcia originally came up with the Oakland Athletics with a different name. He was Jairo Garcia.
And the next pitch, a little squibber on the third base side. This is a tough play for Duvall. His throw is late and wide, and Ishikawa did a good job just to stop that one. That ball had a chance to maybe go flying into foul ground on the right side. So that's going to be an infield hit for the pinch hitter, Kieschnick.
Gotta love that. Mike Scioscia wants a lefty instead of Martin in that situation. It was as if he just caught that pitch and rolled it right off the end of the bat. The Angels once again with a leadoff man on in consecutive innings here, trying to get a run.
So Featherston is the batter. We'll see if he might be bunting here. And he is around a bunt. And boy, that ball came in and it got a piece of him. He's hit by that pitch.
Now Bruce Bochy's going to say, wait a minute, is there a swing or is there not a swing? Yes, the ball got him, but all you got to do is the opposing managers say, hey, where's the barrel? I'd like to know where was the bat. It's a different story if he's trying to pull the bat back, but not if the bat is facing the pitch. And it's not an argument as to if he got hit or not at some point.
Well, they're checking.
I mean, there's times when you take a full swing, the ball hits you, but still a strike, full swing. So this, in a very similar way, falls in that category.
Well, Kieschnick, who went up to second base, he's now kind of hanging around between first and second, and they're going to change the call.
And that's, I believe, the right call. I mean, Mike Scioscia would have done the same thing had it been against the Angels, because it's where the bat was, even if the ball hit him.
So it'll simply be a strike, even though Kieschnick was hit, but that can happen.
There it is. It happened.
All right.
Like I said, there's guys that take full swings. The ball hits him, strikes their body, but still a full swing, still a strike.
Right. You can be hit by a pitch and you're not necessarily awarded first base, and that was the case. Here's a bunt, though. It's pushed back to the mound. Casilla goes to second in time. Boy, Casilla very nonchalant. He just reached down barehanded that one and then fired to second, and they do nip Kieschnick. So the Angels were trying to sacrifice that runner up to second base. Cannot do it.
It's a pretty risky play by Casilla, but he knew the angle was a very poor bunt. That allows a pitcher not have to cover too much ground laterally, get his feet set and fire away.
So the fielder's choice goes 1-6. That was Adrianza who was covering second. Navarro the batter now with a runner at first, one out. Bottom of the eighth, 2-2 game. And the first pitch of ball, it's 1-0. Navarro's gone all the way at first base. He's sparkled defensively, and they haven't gotten him out at the plate. 2 singles and a walk. Toss over to first. Featherston dives back. Featherston had 14 stolen bases in the minors last year, so he can run a little bit.
Be a good time too to try to steal a bag when it really matters, when it really counts and people are paying attention to you.
He's got a good sized lead. There he goes. The pitch is high. The throw to second base. He better hurry. He's out. Sanchez guns him down. The Angels have had a couple of runners thrown out at second base here in this inning.
This one happened very quickly after the confusion of the call that was reversed. And what appeared to be a decent jump, but boy, impressive release and quickness from behind the plate by Sanchez. And threw a strike to second base.
2-0 on Navarro. Bottom of the eighth, 2-2 to score. Angels and Giants first meeting this spring. They'll play each other during the regular season this year. It's that one is tipped foul. Last half inning, the top of the eighth. It was brought to you by Chronic Tacos Mexican Grill, using third-generation recipes and packed with your favorite fresh ingredients. That's Chronic Tacos. For a location near you, go to eatchronictacos.com and live the taco life. Mention the Angels and Giants will square up in a 3-game weekend series. The beginning of May in San Francisco, May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. There's a pitch that's missed.
Angels will have a full week pretty much in the Bay Area.
That's right. The series before, the Angels will play the Oakland A's. Two balls, 2 strikes. Garcia is set, 4th pitcher of the day for the Giants, and the next delivery, it swung on and missed. He struck him out, and that will end the inning. So that'll do it for the Angels. The bottom of the 8th inning today, brought to you by Rotolo Chevrolet in Fontana, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in California. Rotolo Chevrolet, pursuing excellence every day, so visit them at Rotolo.com. We're headed to the 9th inning. It's a 2-2 score on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Angels. Be sure to tune in to the Rich Eisen Show weekday mornings on Angels Radio AM 830. Rich has great guests and topics daily. That's the Rich Eisen Show, 9 to noon on Angels Radio AM 830 KLAA. So another pitcher for the Angels. Cesar Ramos takes over. Pitcher number 6 of the day. Replaces Joe Smith, who had a 1-2-3 top of the 8th. We go to the top of the 9th now. Hector Sanchez will lead things off here for San Francisco. And the first pitch, he rips one into left field, and that looks like extra bases. Going to roll all the way out to the wall. Headed for 2 is Sanchez, and the throw, it is late. That's a leadoff double. It's his second hit of the day. Ramos, as he works for the Angels, he's appearing in his 5th game this spring. He's given up 4 hits in 4 innings and 2 runs. And now they're going to pinch run for Sanchez.
It looks like a youngster out of a minor league camp. Double flap helmet. Try to flash here some speed and get his team on the board again. Looks like Ryan Lolis. Ryan Lolis is pinch running at second base.
Number 81. Last name is spelled L-O-L-L-I-S. Here's the pitch, and that one pitch that is inside on Brandon Hicks.
See the example there, Terry, of the pitch that Taylor Featherston tried to bunt. Very similar to that. You can see where Hicks pulls the bat back.
This is the first time Hicks has batted today. Here's the next pitch, and there's a ball that he bunts foul right near the plate. 1-2.
Ron was acquired by the Angels from the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, Kevin Jepsen and Ernesto Frieri are reunited over with the Rays. Terry, how about that?
Yep.
At one time, they were 7-8, and at times last year they were 8-9 out of the bullpen.
There's a pitch that's low and in. Michael Kahn's over there as well with Tampa Bay. So kind of a Angel reliever reunion of sorts with the Rays this year.
There's been some good things happen when Angels relievers have gone over to the Rays. Look at Fernando Rodney, who led all of baseball in saves last year, but with the Seattle Mariners, got himself reestablished over with Tampa Bay.
There's a pitch that's inside on Hicks. So the count's full. It's 3 balls, 2 strikes, and Ramos here in his first inning struggling a little bit. Hicks has played in the big leagues a little bit with the Braves and the A's. He also was with the Giants last year as well. Count's full on him. Here's the 3-2. He hits it hard into center field. Out there is Myers, and he would make the grab on that one and fires the ball back towards the left side of the infield.
The ball was hit so hard. Diaby Myers had to kind of wait, make sure that ball with the wind blowing back did not carry over his head, and also had the effect of some knuckleball there at the end. And that's when you air it out. Good job getting behind that baseball and then getting some extra on your throw.
So Gary Brown is the batter. He's had an 0-for-3 day.
First one on Brown, right-handed batter. Takes it low and away from the lefty Cesar Ramos. Harry Brown, a SoCal native. One ball, no strikes, the count. Here's the pitch. And he swings at this one and lifts it in the air. Another fly ball hit the Myers. He's going to catch this one. The runner at second is going to tag. That is Lawless, and he will advance on the flyout. So Brown is out, number 2. Gary Brown, as he heads back to the dugout there. He's a guy, Jose, doesn't really like to go with the batting gloves.
Got the rough look.
Here's Aoki, who's been the DH all game long. 2-hit day for him, 2 for 4. So the Giants have the go-ahead runner at third with 2 outs in a 2-2 game here in the 9th. See if Ramos can get the final out here. The pitch, a little pop on the left side, and it's caught by the shortstop, Featherston. Went back a foot or 2 onto the outfield grass and nabs it. And that's how the inning will end. So the Giants stay off the scoreboard. They leave that runner at third base. No runs. They had the leadoff double. That was the only hit, no errors, and they leave 1. Bottom of the 9th is coming up. It's 2-2. Angels and Giants on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. Have a new battery for the Giants. The new pitcher is Javier Lopez, and Guillermo Quiros is the new catcher. So Lopez replaces Santiago, worked an inning, giving up a hit, no runs, striking out 1. And the first batter is the RB Myers, who's batting for the first time today, and he hits a high hopper over the mound. Tough play for the shortstop to throw late. Adrianza's throw just a little bit late over to Ishikawa, and Myers, who can run, gets a leadoff single. So this is the 3rd straight inning here with the game tied that the Angels have gotten the leadoff man on. Couldn't get him in the 7th or 8th. We'll see if the Angels do it in the 9th. If they do, they win the game. Grant Green will be the next batter. We'll see how the Angels play it. Myers has very good speed. He's the runner at first base. Left-hander Lopez is ready. He's been an anchor in the Giants bullpen for a number of years now. And there's a pitch that's missed. Javier Lopez, sidearm delivery. 65 appearances. He's really a lefty specialist and a guy who is just outstanding as far as keeping the ball in the ballpark. This guy very rarely ever gives up a home run. Here's the pitch. Lifted foul on the right side. That's backing out of play. Lopez last year with the Giants, 1-1 record, ERA 3.11. And this spring, in 4 outings coming into today, he had worked 3 2/3 innings, giving up 4 hits and 2 runs. 2-2. We're in the bottom of the 9th. Here's the pitch, and that is waved at and missed by Grant Green, and he is down easily right there. Lopez struck him out, took something off the fastball there. That pitch was low and pretty much in the dirt. So 1 gone here in the bottom of the 9th. Carlos Perez, the batter. He's gone all the way as the Angels DH. Got a base hit his last time up. He's 1 for 3 today. Here's the pitch. And that one slow one in there for a called strike. Drew Butera, who has caught the entire game for the Angels. He's waiting on deck. Lopez, who's pitching for the Giants, their 5th pitcher today. Lincecum, the starter, worked the first 4. Here's the next delivery. Hard hit on the third base side. Off the glove of the third baseman Duvall. Can't pick it up. No throw. And the Angels have runners at first and second. That ball was hit sharply, and it's going to be scored an infield hit. Perez with his 2nd hit today. Butera will be the next batter. So Drew Butera has had only 2 hits this spring. One of them a homer. He is 2 for 17 this spring. Base hit here. Could win the ball game. And now we see Bruce Bochy going out there. And Lopez is going to be taken out of the ball game. They're going to go to the bullpen. So we have a break in the action. A pitching change here in the bottom of the 9th. The Angels have runners at first and second, 1 out. It's a 2-2 game. Take a pitching change and be back in a moment on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket. New pitcher for the Giants is Curtis Parch, who spent a little bit of time with the Reds last year, 6 games for Cincinnati, and then pitched most of last season with their AAA club in Louisville. So Parch taking over. Angels have the potential winning run at second. 1 out, bottom of the 9th, 2-2 game. And Gutierrez swings and bloops a ball to shallow left. That's going to drop in for a base hit. Stopping at third base will be the lead runner, the RB Myers. He had to make sure that ball was going to clear the infield, and it did drop in. A bloop hit for Butera, who cracked his bat. Now the Angels have them loaded with 1 out, with a golden opportunity to win this game here in the bottom of the 9th. Kubica will be the next batter. Parch is appearing in his 6th game this spring. He hasn't pitched well for the Giants. He's worked 7 innings coming in, allowing 9 hits, 10 runs, 6 earned. They brought the infield in. Right-hander is ready. And the pitch. Kubica swings and fouls that one off on the left side, backing out of play. Curtis Parch, the pitcher. He's from Merced. All the infielders are up. Bases loaded, 1 out, 2-2, bottom of the 9th. The next pitch, ground ball, base hit. That's a walk-off RBI single. Kubica delivers, and this ball game is over. Angels with a 3-2 victory here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Angels had 4 singles in the bottom of the 9th to come away with the victory here today in Tempe. So the first meeting between these two teams this spring goes to the Halos, and these two teams will be right back at it tomorrow afternoon as they play the second of the home-and-home series at Scottsdale Stadium. Good win for the Angels today. A 3-2 victory here this afternoon against the Giants. Mark Kubica will be joined by Angels manager Mike Scioscia in just a moment. Get some of his thoughts on today's game. Angels had 3 runs, 10 hits, no errors, and the Giants had 2 runs, 7 hits. They had 1 error. Let's go down to Mark Kubica and Angels manager Mike Scioscia.
Mike, always a fun way to win a game, be able to have a walk-off. Good situational hitting throughout the day for the club once again.
We did all right, Gooby. You know, some things that we're trying to just tighten up as we get into this point of spring. And before you know it, we're going to be up in Seattle opening up. So we want to make sure some guys are comfortable in doing some things. Good for that young kid, Kubica, to come up and win the game late. This guy's an impressive prospect, and hopefully he'll carry a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, Weave, again, back-to-back games in which he threw well. He's got into the 6th inning for it today. Pretty good pitch count. Good stuff once again.
Yeah, maybe not as crisp as he was the other day. The other day, I think his stuff was a little bit better, but he did a nice job of mixing and matching, and like he always does, kept us in the game.
I feel like you see it with from Street and Smith, too, coming out of your bullpen.
Yeah, these guys are going to get more regular work. They're ready for it. Houston has picked up his stuff every time he's been out there, and Joe looks good.
All right, so it's nice, man.
All right, good. Thank you.
Terry, back to you. Big victory walk-off against the Giants here. Back to you. Finish it off, Terry Smith.
All right, Gooby, thanks for checking in with Angels manager Mike Scioscia as the Halos come away with the victory today, beating the Giants 3-2 here at Tempe Diablo Stadium. For those of you watching on TV, Mark, along with Jose Mota, will have a lot more post-game analysis. On the radio side, we'll have some more for you from Tempe as well. Angels with the victory 3-2. This is the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Prime Ticket.